Chapter 6 House Maintenance. Congratulations! You have interviewed for and accepted the job of your dreams. Way to go! While you are excited for good reason, you are not quite finished. Although you now have fully constructed the house of you, it may come tumbling down if proper maintenance is not performed. So let us now begin with a question. What would happen to a house, no matter how beautifully constructed with the best materials, or how visually appealing it is with a color scheme that pops if the floors are not swept? Food is not cleared from the kitchen after each meal. Air filters are not changed, or even if the doors are not locked or security system is not engaged when you and your family is not home. A house that is not secure or properly maintained will turn from an asset, which is a positive, to a liability, which is a negative, or in other terms, from a blessing to a curse. We do not want your house to be a liability or a curse. We want it to be a great asset and a wonderful blessing. To be able to achieve the latter, you and your family will need to work equally hard, if not harder, maintaining your house as when you were building it. These analogies are meant to paint you a picture to show that even though you have secured a job, which is one of the goals of this book, you still have to continue to sustain your worth or add value to the organization you have just joined. Let us consider for a minute that you are the hiring manager. You are in high spirits because as the hiring manager, not only did you choose the job candidate that was perfect for the open position, but the job candidate also felt they were a fit for the open position. Fast forward to the day the new hire is scheduled to start at your company. On that first day, the newly minted employee shows up to work at 9 a.m. when it was clearly communicated that 8 a.m. was the work start time. When the new hire finally shows up, they're wearing an untucked Hawaiian shirt, shorts, and a pair of flip-flops when it was clearly communicated throughout the interview process that the expected attire was business casual. As the hiring manager, what is running through your head about the new employee? Probably some of the same things that are running through my head and have so in the past, such as curiosity as to why the new hire showed up to work an hour late without contacting you or the HR rep. Another thought may be, why would your new direct report show up to work in clothing fit for a beach vacation rather than a pair of dress pants, collared shirt, and dress shoes, which is the expectation for all employees at your organization? All of the hard work this new employee had successfully completed up until now may have all been for naught. I wanted to share this hypothetical new employee with you as an extreme of what not to do. I am aware that new organizations, which some of you may end up employed by, are forming each and every day, and that each has their own philosophy on work attire and start time. Maybe the company you land a job at views work attire completely differently from the company in our scenario. In that case, please make sure that before starting your new job that you have a clear understanding of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable work attire and starting time. If the HR rep and or hiring manager has not covered or answered one or more of your questions, make it a point to ask and receive an answer to alleviate any stress you may have about doing something that could be viewed negatively by your new colleagues and company as a new hire. Some companies are even taking steps to combat some of the uncertainty by including frequently asked questions, FAQs, in their offer packet. Other organizations may share this pertinent information during orientation, which depending on the company can occur anywhere from an hour to a couple of weeks after the start date. We're all new hires in a given period of time, for example, weekly or monthly, Spend time together in a conference room learning about the organization, the different departments, key contacts across the organization, benefit enrollment, such as health insurance, 401k enrollment, etc., and other important topics hand selected to give you a smooth start at their new company. Next, we will review a series of key attributes that would be in your interest to understand and prepare for to ensure that you are properly maintaining your house, job. All of the following attributes I have experienced throughout my career. One thing I found out early in my career was that whether I liked it or not, I would be asked on a daily basis to introduce myself on a teleconference, video conference, or in person. Growing up, I was an introvert, which the Oxford Dictionary defines as a person predominantly concerned with their own thoughts and feelings rather than with external things. So how does this apply to what we are discussing? Although I tended to be more concerned about my own thoughts and feelings, the workforce was pushing me to grow more towards being an extrovert, which according to Oxford is an outgoing, socially confident person. Whether or not you're comfortable talking about your educational or professional experience to others, you will in most instances have to face and conquer that hurdle on a recurring basis. Beginning during my college years, although I found myself relating more as an introvert, I took opportunities to lead class projects, which forced me to get comfortable standing in front of, speaking to, and conveying a message to an audience of business owners, professors, and classmates. I am a competitive individual that is always looking for an area to grow in. For me, this was a way to force myself out of my comfort zone and into a place of personal growth, which is uncomfortable at first. So when it comes to you and your comfort level of introducing yourself to your colleagues, vendors, prospective vendors, or to a job candidate, the first thing you should ask yourself is, do you relate more as an introvert or an extrovert? If you are naturally an extrovert, I would spend some time crafting and practicing an elevator message in front of a mirror or with a friend or family member. An elevator message, also called an elevator pitch, is, in my opinion, a 15 to 30 second introduction of yourself to a high-level employee of a company, such as a CEO, Chief Executive Officer. Why the short period of time? You may have ridden an elevator at one time or another in your life, such as at a hotel, a business, or an apartment complex. Some of you may have not been on an elevator, but if you were to ride one, there is a very short period of time from when you step onto an elevator until you reach your intended floor and exit. If you step on an elevator that the CEO of your organization is on, in a short period of time before you or one of you reaches your intended floor, you would want to introduce yourself, briefly detailing what you do at their organization. If you are an introvert, I recommend following the same steps as someone that is traditionally an extrovert, but rehearse with a friend or family member until you feel 100% confident you can perform if given the opportunity. You may be wondering how likely it is that you will find yourself in an elevator with a key figure in your company. The probability of this occurring is higher if you work for a smaller company, and lower if you find yourself working for a larger organization. So why do I bring this up if there is only a moderate likelihood of finding yourself on an elevator with a key figure from your company? One reason is that you want to be prepared in case that opportunity arises, because first impressions mean a lot. And what bigger impression can be made other than having an opportunity to introduce yourself to a key figure in your company? The second reason is you will find yourself in the position of introducing yourself to others, albeit maybe not always a key figure in your organization on a daily basis. What the elevator pitch exercise does is prepare you for the most common situations as well as those less likely to arise. Think about this for a minute. Let's say that you are an introvert that develops your elevator pitch. You have rehearsed until you are 100% confident you can deliver it. And one day you step on the elevator as you do each morning, and the CEO of your organization is already alone on the elevator car. He smiles, makes eye contact with you, and says, "Good morning, I am Tom, the CEO of your company. So what do you do for us?" You respond with your carefully crafted elevator pitch. Tom smiles, shakes your hand, and thanks you for your service, telling you to keep up the good work for the company. How would that make you feel? It should make you feel awesome. It makes no difference whether you are an introvert or an extrovert. What matters most is that you put forth the required effort. If you are an extrovert and want to practice in front of an audience, or an introvert that wants to practice and refine using a different method, there are many organizations out there that give you the opportunity to practice your speaking skills. The one organization that I am familiar with that fits into this boat is called Toastmasters. Toastmasters International is a world leader in communication and leadership development. Our organization has more than 345,000 memberships. Members improve their speaking and leadership skills by attending one of the 15,900 clubs in 142 countries that make up our global network of meeting locations. When building your elevator pitch, you should focus on 3 specific areas. 1. What department do you work in? For example, marketing, finance. 2. What do you do in your department at a high level? And 3, share the excitement and gratitude you have for the work that you do and what your interests are. This may sound like, "Hi, my name is Justin Hayes. I work in the accounting and finance area. Currently, I execute the profit and loss statements for product line X. I would love to someday manage the team that executes the profit and loss statements for all of our product lines." You should craft your individual elevator pitch in the manner you are comfortable speaking, because you do not want to sound robotic while delivering your message. An easy rule of thumb that I have found to be helpful is that if you are unsure how to pronounce a word and or its definition, do not use it. Because what would be more embarrassing than to be asked to explain right there on the spot? Also, you can elaborate further at your discretion, especially when you are introducing yourself in a teleconference or video conference, or in person, as it is common for individuals to have at least a minute or two to introduce themselves. The key here is to be comfortable and confident in yourself and your abilities, because you are a smart, sharp individual who has a lot to offer a company, which is why a hiring manager should make the decision to hire you and not another job candidate. Since these areas partially relate to a meeting setting, we will continue by reviewing meetings and proper meeting etiquette. A meeting setting can seem overwhelming for a new hire, and even a veteran, due to a variety of reasons. For one, you may be more of an introvert, and the thought of exhibiting extrovert qualities in a meeting room full of coworkers sends shivers down your back, especially those coworkers you have not met before. 2 other reasons may be that the layout of the conference rooms does not follow a logical order, for example, alphabetical or numerical order, or that the meeting leader, the individual who has set up or called the meeting, did not circulate a meeting agenda prior to the meeting. Let us now take a deeper dive into each of these scenarios. Try your best not to let being more of an introvert by nature interfere with a meeting. Sounds easy enough, but how exactly do you work through introvert qualities in a meeting? With any given meeting, you'll either be a meeting leader or a participant that has been invited due to your expertise on one or more topics the meeting leader wishes to discuss. If either case arises, you will be prepared. And while you may be nervous about meeting participants you do not know, you should not be nervous about your areas of expertise because you already practiced and executed similar discussions in your interview. While you may be a nervous wreck thinking about some meeting variables, you will not be nervous about your confidence because your education and/or previous work experience is fueling your participation in the discussion. You will not be asked to respond to or provide somebody else's viewpoint. If you're the meeting leader, you should be the one who defines the subject, the date and time, duration, location, participants, and the agenda of the meeting. When should you undertake the task to set up a meeting? There may be instances where your manager asks you to set up a meeting on a specific topic. If that happens, you should ask your manager what the meeting topic is and who should be invited. That is the easiest route for a meeting leader because someone else provides you all the information required to set up a meeting. Another question you may also want answered is the time frame your manager wants the meeting completed by. It is important to nail down the timing of the meeting because the deadline for the topic to be ironed out in the meeting may come and go before you're able to set up the meeting with the required participants. Although this is beyond your control, asking your manager ahead of time shows that you are being proactive instead of reactive, which is a preferred trait in the workforce regardless of field or industry. The second route for you to be a meeting leader may come from encountering a daily task or project roadblock for which it is essential for you to uncover specific feedback from at least one other department to continue. In some cases, an email response may be sufficient to continue a daily task or project. But while an email may give you a specific answer or assumption, it usually does not explain how and why the specific answer or feedback came to be. This is important because there will be a point in time, possibly during a project checkpoint meeting with your superiors, where you will be asked why you chose a specific path. From my experience, you do not want to find yourself in a meeting with your superiors or colleagues being asked why you are proceeding in a given direction, and do not have the why because your credibility will be in question as to whether you can complete further tasks and/or projects in a full and comprehensive way. There may be times where a question is far-reaching and it may be tough to recognize or speculate on an appropriate answer, but you will want to try to limit those experiences as much as possible by staying on your areas of expertise. For instance, if you are in the marketing department and come to a point in your project where you need to project costs on a product for the next 3 years and you do not have that specific information to move forward, then here a business need has arisen for a meeting. In this example, you may want to list a member of the finance team as required in the meeting notice and denote other stakeholders in the project as optional, so they are kept in the loop as to the progress of the task or project. This notice provides each stakeholder in the project a status on an area that needs addressing before moving forward. Also, there may be a stakeholder that already has some of the information you are looking for if they completed a similar project in the past, which may lower the likelihood you would need to hold a meeting in the first place. But the only way you will find this out is by including them on the meeting notice. If the need remains, move forward with scheduling a meeting on the specific topics needed for you to continue your project. Then, it is up to you as a meeting leader to create a new meeting notice, including important information such as the meeting subject, date, time, duration, location, participants, and meeting agenda. The subject of the meeting, for example, could be something to the effect of Project X Finance Touch Base. The meeting is not a checkpoint. It is rather a touch base to discuss and solve a question or series of questions in order for you to continue your task. The body of the meeting notice is where you want to be sure to include an agenda, including each of the meeting participants and their expertise, or you can choose to include the meeting agenda in a separate attached document, such as Microsoft Word or PDF. The timing of a meeting should be chosen based on when you need the feedback to continue, the availability of your participants, and the availability of conference rooms in your location. There is an emphasis on increasing productivity and decreasing the amount of time in meetings, so try your best to limit the duration of the meeting. When you first enter the workforce, I recommend asking your manager or a colleague of yours how long a meeting on your chosen topic should last. Sometimes a meeting may be as short as 15 minutes or as long as a whole day. It is up to you to use your best judgment along with the feedback from your manager and or colleagues to define the duration of the meeting you are in charge of setting up. The location of a meeting is dictated by how many individuals will be invited to attend. If 2 people, in addition to the meeting leader, in this case you, will be participating, then you will only need a conference room with 3 seats, not a larger conference room that holds 20. Your manager, colleagues, and or HR rep will be able to help you learn how many conference rooms are in your building, their locations, and what the range of attendees is for each. For example, at some organizations, you are able to view the number of attendees that will fit in each conference room when booking. For example, Conference Room A, 1 to 5 seats. As the meeting leader, the final key topic to tackle is the meeting agenda. The meeting agenda should be either included in the body of the meeting notice or attached to the meeting notice in Microsoft Word or PDF form. Meeting agenda elements to be included are subject, date, time, duration, location, participants, and the topic or topics that will be discussed and completed. In today's fast-paced business world, the meeting agenda is becoming an old art form, meaning that meeting agendas are not used correctly or even at all, which leads to more meetings and lower meeting satisfaction for employees at those companies. But for the sake of meeting efficiency, which includes leaving the meeting having completed all meeting agenda items and respecting all meeting participants' time, having and following a meeting agenda is the number one way to increase meeting efficiency. Another recommendation to increase the focus of the meeting and the meeting agenda is to include the names of the departments and respective individuals that will be responsible for solving or helping to solve each agenda item next to each agenda item. For instance, if the agenda item is projecting future product cost, an appropriate notation would be projecting future product cost dash finance colon Justin Hayes. If you are unsure which individual or department will be able to cover the meeting topic, it is okay to write all next to that particular agenda item or a specific department such as finance. You not only need an emphasis on creating and including the meeting agenda within the meeting notice, but as meeting leader, it is critical that you follow the meeting agenda once the meeting begins. The last thing you want to do is not to follow the meeting agenda and have the meeting time run out without completing each meeting agenda item. This would mean wasted time for everyone involved because you most likely will have to schedule a follow-up meeting to finish discussing the items on the agenda. An easy way to think about this is research and execution. The research part comes when you are setting up the meeting, and the execution piece is ensuring that you do not leave the meeting without each meeting agenda item being completed or, at the very least, addressed along with identifying those individuals responsible for following up. Not only will you feel good about the meeting because you're able to obtain the information to continue on your project, but the meeting attendees will thank you for valuing their time and staying on topic. Now, there are the customary greetings of, "Hi, how are you today? How was your weekend?" But those pleasantries do not need to take up 15 minutes of a 30-minute meeting. I have witnessed this too many times to count, where only 15 minutes are left in a meeting and a meeting leader has not even started the items on the meeting agenda. I have also witnessed too many meeting leaders not including a meeting agenda in the meeting notice. Some people think that the subject is all that is important, but if you are a meeting leader, take it upon yourself to set an example for yourself, your department, and your organization. The second way you can find yourself included in a meeting is as a participant. The meeting subject, date, time, duration, location, participants, and the agenda have already been identified and set out electronically by the meeting leader. It is imperative for the meeting leader to include an agenda in the meeting notice because, as a participant, you otherwise may not have a clue as to why you are being invited to this meeting. If you are invited to a meeting and there is no meeting agenda on the meeting notice, do not hesitate to initiate a call or email with the meeting leader to ask specifically why you need to attend. If the meeting leader still does not include an agenda with their meeting notice with that information, make sure at the very least you know why your meeting attendance is being requested, so you can document exactly why you are attending and what expertise you are being expected to provide at the meeting. You want to show the meeting leader and other meeting participants that you are well prepared. I have witnessed meetings where all meeting participants prepared and others where one or several meeting participants were not prepared. Whether you think so or not, people do notice. Up until the meeting, it is your responsibility to know exactly what the expectations of your meeting attendance are, because once the meeting starts, all participants are under the impression that everyone is fully prepared. I have been on both sides of the coin at different points in my career. Take my word and do your best to make sure you are prepared for all meetings you're requested to attend, because if you thought being nervous and embarrassed during a job interview was tough to handle, imagine being in a meeting with your manager and colleagues and asked to answer a question well within your area of expertise and not providing an adequate response due to a lack of preparation. Preparing for meetings is well within your control, so always be ready for meetings you are asked to attend. Regardless of whether you are the meeting leader or a participant, the actions you take in a meeting are the same. In a meeting where you are not familiar with the participants, I suggest that if seated, stand up and introduce yourself and shake the other participants' hands. You do not need to do this in successive meetings with the same individuals, but I do suggest this approach in the first meeting with individuals you have not yet met. This is not mandatory to follow, but is regarded to be respectful and professional. Also, some of you will be in positions that conduct business with outside vendors. An outside vendor is an outside company that does or wishes to do business with your company. In a meeting that includes outside vendors, which you presumably have not met previously, you should not only stand up, introduce yourself, and shake their hands, but also exchange business cards in a similar way to an in-person interview. Business cards should be exchanged so that all individuals have the current contact information for each meeting participant, which makes it easier for after-meeting follow-up. The company name, employee name, title, physical mailing address, email address, and fax number are some of the most common information included on a business card. You have learned how important it is to exchange business cards in an in-person interview and meeting setting. But how do you actually go about ordering your own business cards? Ordering your business cards is something that may be covered during your new hire orientation or a topic that you can ask your manager about. Depending on the company you work for, you may be able to expect to receive your business cards in a couple of weeks to a month or more. The timing is based on the frequency and quantity your company orders business cards in. If you are invited to a meeting before your business cards have arrived, do not panic. Merely communicate to meeting attendees that you are new to the company and have not yet received your business cards. Business cards do not necessarily need to be exchanged with individuals within the same organization, but it is a nice gesture, especially when you first meet in person. When my first business cards were delivered, once I was out of college, I remember thinking to myself that I wanted to give all my friends and family one to show that all the time and energy I exhausted in college was starting to pay off. You may have a similar feeling when you are handed your first business card. Some technology-driven organizations are moving away from business cards and are using social media, such as LinkedIn, in its place. If you encounter this in the workplace, I would be sure to ask which social media platforms the individuals and their respective companies use and connect with them on those platforms. Whether you work at a small or large organization, the logic to the conference room layout can be confusing unless you designed it yourself. If you look at a floor layout from left to right, like a rectangle, with the long side of the rectangle at the base, the mind of an individual tends to logically believe that the conference room floor layout progression should be 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D, or a combination such as 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1D. Sometimes the layout of conference rooms follows this progression, and sometimes it does not follow any rational progression at all. Why is this important? What if on your first day, you have a meeting scheduled in 1A at 9 a.m.? The building your employer is located in only has one floor, so you do not need to take multiple floors into account. At 8:55 a.m., you begin to walk to your meeting at the end of the building that would, in theory, house the conference rooms with the number 1 and letter A. You arrive to the area in the building you logically concluded that the conference room should be at 8:59 a.m., only to find that the conference room nearest you is actually 1C. So now you start frantically searching around the first floor for conference room 1A, and you finally end up locating conference room 1A in the middle of the first floor, not at either end, let alone the logical end of the building. By now, it is 9:03 a.m., and you enter the meeting late on your first day with all the other meeting participants noticing your late arrival. I give this extreme example because it could happen to anyone, and it is my job to prepare you for such a situation so that you do your due diligence to prepare and understand where each of the conference rooms are located in your building, even if their layout makes little or no sense at all. How should you conduct your research and due diligence on conference room floor layouts? Search your company intranet for a layout of the building with each of the conference rooms clearly labeled. Often, the conference room floor layout is in a Microsoft Word or PDF document form. Next, print this document out for the times you're requested to lead and or participate in a meeting being held in a conference room. Sometimes your office floor layout and arrangement may put you near other meeting attendees, so another action you can take is to walk together with another meeting attendee to the meeting. This way, you will be covered by paper and by brain power. Dinner etiquette can seem overwhelming if you have never had an experience to fall back on for reference. The context of dinner etiquette that I am referring to occurs after you have been hired at a company, not interview dinner etiquette, although many of the recommendations are easily adaptable between the two scenarios. An invitation to attend a business dinner can come from any number of sources. Some of the more common sources are your manager, one of your colleagues, administrative assistant at a vendor or supplier company, counterpart at a vendor or supplier company, or a representative from a conference or summit you may be attending. The information that is generally included in a dinner invitation is the invitees, the restaurant name, an address, reservation time, and associated time zone. The time zone is important because if you are located in the Eastern time zone, your vendor or supplier organization is located in the Central time zone, and the dinner invitation is at a conference or summit you both are attending is in the Pacific time zone, a lot of confusion could ensue. I have had experiences where this exact scenario has played out, making this point vitally important for you to consider, especially if you have been charged with setting up the meeting. Let's assume you're not the individual scheduling and sending out the dinner invitations, but rather are on the receiving end of a business dinner invitation. After you receive the dinner invitation, it is important to identify what the required dress will be for the dinner. The dress attire for a business dinner will be dictated by the restaurant selection. For example, a fine dining restaurant will require business professional to formal and so forth. This is not always the case, however, so it is vital for you to reach out to the dinner organizer and or your colleagues attending the dinner to gain a clear understanding of what the expected dress will be. Showing up to the dinner in appropriate attire is a great first step, whether you are a new hire or a seasoned veteran. Always remember that just as it is important to wear proper attire to a job interview, the same goes for a business dinner. A business dinner should not be treated like you and your friends are going to the bar. Rather, a business dinner is directly tied to your livelihood. Making the mistake of treating the business dinner any differently could turn it from a blessing to a curse in an instant. The next area to focus on with the business dinner is what to order from the menu. It has been my experience that the dinner organizer, company, representative will be the first to order, and so it is important to gain a sense of what the organizer is ordering. For example, if the dinner organizer orders the most inexpensive entree on the menu, it would not be wise for you to go ahead and order the most expensive entree on the menu. If appetizers are ordered, the dinner organizer will be the one to order them. Remember, this is a business dinner, not a personal dinner. My experience in this capacity has also been that the dinner organizer will gain a consensus from the dinner attendees before ordering any such appetizers. I have been invited to a number of business dinners over my professional career, and there have been instances where appetizers were ordered for the table and others where appetizers were not ordered for the table. So it is not a foregone conclusion that appetizers will be ordered for the table. If you always order appetizers when you are out to eat and encounter a business dinner where appetizers are not ordered, do not comment to anyone at the dinner that someone is being cheap by not ordering them. Employees who make comments along those lines are often not invited to additional dinners while with the company. To be crystal clear here, the one rule I always follow in a business dinner setting is that I never order an entree more expensive than the dinner organizer and or the highest ranking individual, manager, director, vice president, etc. at my company, both when the dinner organizer is and is not from my company. Why? Because while you may not conduct future business with the other company at the dinner, you will be seen and working with those individuals from your company. It is not worth ordering the most expensive entree on the menu just because you will not have to pay for it out of your own personal monies, or because your friends always do when they attend a business dinner. I had an experience where, as a manager, one of my direct reports decided that because the employee was at a business dinner, it would not be held financially responsible for the cost of the dinner. The employee could go ahead and order anything off of the menu. What this goes back to is quality decision making. Is this the type of individual that you want on your company work team? One that maxes out the amount his company or partner company has to pay for dinner? Can this individual be trusted with balancing a budget or completing assignments and projects accurately and on time? Trust me that you do not want your manager or someone else in management to start questioning your integrity as an employee. It goes without saying that this employee of mine never attended another business dinner I was responsible for and caused me to question his integrity. For this reason, I follow the aforementioned advice regarding business dinners and suggest that you do too, so you do not end up jeopardizing your job and livelihood. We have already covered the importance of networking through vehicles such as LinkedIn. Networking can also take another route that can either be formal or informal. This route is referred to as mentorship. Mentorship, as defined by the Oxford Dictionary, is the guidance provided by a mentor, especially an experienced person in a company or educational institution. Mentorship is a great way for you to network within your company with an employee who has experience and longevity. I recommend identifying a couple of potential mentors at your organization who are at least one level higher than you and located in another department. For instance, if you are a tax analyst, you'd want to identify potential mentors outside of the accounting department who are at least a senior tax analyst or higher. It is important to follow these two criterion since one of the main benefits of a mentorship relationship is to learn about other departments and their function within the organization, because you will have an interest to advance your career at some point. And what better way to help you identify whether or not that particular area could be a potential fit for you than to network with someone that is living and breathing that type of work on a daily basis. Selecting a mentor who is at least one level higher than you will give you the ability to learn what it takes to advance in the company from someone who has already lived it. You may learn from your mentor that your company is big on training, or employees who look to further their education, such as valuing a master's degree over a bachelor's degree. While most companies will have a mission statement and values, seldom do they cover this level of detail. One of the best ways to gain this level of detail is to network within your organization and learn from those individuals through a mentorship relationship. Lastly, by taking advantage of a mentorship opportunity, you may find yourself interested in the department of your mentor, when you may not have otherwise discovered your interest in that department. If down the road you choose to apply for an opening in your mentor's department, your mentor would become that much more of an asset for you. For example, what could be better than having your mentor write a recommendation letter for you to join their department? I recommend that you find, start, and maintain a mentor relationship with at least one individual from your company. This is what I refer to as an internal mentor, because the mentor is working at your company. Each company has a different philosophy at a top level. Some companies have a formal mentorship program, where you're required to complete assignments at different points of the mentorship, while others may have a less formalized approach. You will want to touch base with your HR rep and or your manager for more information on if they do offer a mentorship program, and if so, what the requirements are to join. I also recommend that you find, start, and maintain a mentor relationship with at least one individual outside of your company, what I refer to as an external mentor. Why is it important to have both an internal and external mentor? As life events such as marriage and the birth of children occur, they may lead to a potential shift in your interest. You may be faced with making decisions that may take you away from your current company. For example, if you get engaged and your fiance lands a great job that doubles his or her pay and or increases responsibilities in a different city or state that you currently work in, you may now be in search of a job closer to where your fiance's new job will be geographically located. If your company has a presence in that new city or state, you could explore open opportunities to see if there is a match. If not, you'll be taking your job search externally, for example, outside of your current company. And this would be a topic that you would not want to share with an internal mentor. You could, however, share this information with an external mentor. Who would qualify as an external mentor for you? An external mentor may be a former coach, a teacher, or other individual who does not work at your current company who you respect and would value honest, critical feedback from. Again, this is your decision, and as such, you will be the one to evaluate whether or not your external mentor will meet your needs. It is important to show up to all of your mentorship meetings with an agenda, the same as when you are a meeting leader. As the mentee, it is 100% up to you, not the mentor, to create the agenda. If you show up to a mentorship meeting without an agenda, then the meeting becomes a general conversation about topics unrelated to your work, your organization, or your career goals, which is not the goal of mentorship. Another one of the benefits of creating and following an agenda is that you will be able to check off all the agenda items once they are covered, creating a sense of accomplishment and maximizing the mentor-mentee relationship. Mentorship relationships have been valuable to me and will continue to be part of my professional growth and development, and so too should it be for you. The topic we are going to conclude with pertains to aggregating all of your accomplishments into one easy to find and updatable document for performance review assessments and resume building. I like to call this aggregation a brag sheet because it is truly a reflection of what you have completed and is a form of bragging. The importance of a brag sheet is twofold: performance reviews and resume building. Unless you own your own company, you will most likely be subjected to a form of performance review at your company. At a summary level, a performance review is how you perform against your goals for a given period of time. For example, 90 days, 6 months, annually. You should be able to see how a brag sheet can be helpful here because as you complete daily tasks and projects throughout the year, you can quickly jump over to your aggregated document and extract that important information, such as each daily task or project completed, the duration, the individuals or departments included, and a takeaway such as analysis was completed that revealed our pricing was much higher than our top competitors, so I worked with X individual and Y department on our pricing, including lowering our input costs so we could be more competitive. New pricing implemented on XYZ date. You may think that you'll remember each and every detail of each project you complete, but we are all human. And the best method I have found to ensure I remember successful tasks when performance review time rolls around is to have an electronic file that I can quickly refer back to. This exact method has been helpful to me after finding that even I was prone to forgetting every detail over the course of a year. The brag sheet is something that is easy to do and within your control, so it is a no-brainer for me and should be for you too. The second way you can maximize your brag sheet is for building and updating your resume. Whether you utilize the Career Services Department at your college or request help from an expert in resume building and writing, they will all ask you to identify and explain your accomplishments and areas of expertise with examples to support each in order to build or update your resume. Instead of having to carve out one or several evenings trying to remember and document all of this information, wouldn't it be nice to turn your computer on and open up a file and print? You can save yourself a lot of time and energy if you follow my recommendation and create and maintain your very own brag sheet. To help prepare for your first or next performance review, please practice by filling out the performance review preparation worksheet. Performance Reviews Preparation Worksheet. Directions. Answer the following statements and questions to the best of your ability. Name 3 to 5 of your top projects, assignments, high-profile requests from director or above from the previous time period, such as 3, 6, 9, 12 months, depending on your company's performance review cycle. The different areas or departments, such as accounting, legal, or marketing, you worked with. The main task or ask, such as profitability, new product development research, etc., for each. The time spent on each top project, assignment, high-profile request, what your contributions were for each, what the outcome was of each, and how the task or ask were tied to the mission or goals of the company. What job training have you completed over the prior period? This can include both company-sponsored and or job training that was administered by a third party, such as the American Marketing Association Market Research Boot Camp. The job training can be training completed on-site, off-site, and or online. Conversely, what training do you wish to complete over the next time period that will help you do your job more proficiently and or is a stepping stone in your future career plans with the company? Companies most likely will not support or sponsor, such as pay for and allow you to be away from work without using paid time off or vacation time, training that is not directly tied to your current job or a job interest at your current company. This practice is implemented in order to deter current employees to use a company to pay for and allow time away from work only to leave the company and receive a benefit such as higher starting base salary, job title, etc. from the training from a previous employer. What other areas or interests do you have with your current company in which you may want the opportunity to shadow and or learn more about during the upcoming time period? What 3 areas do you feel your strengths are that may be able to help other areas or other departments at your company? Maybe you can offer to hold a lunch and learn where you can teach another area or department about your strengths and how they benefit the company. Managers love to see employees that are engaged, proactive, and willing to help others. What 3 areas would you like to improve on during the next time period? Everyone has things they can improve on. I know, I do. This is the time to swallow your pride and continue to grow as an employee and as an individual. The best way I have learned and gained experience over the years is with and through hands-on practicing. And I have included the following 5 case challenges for that very reason, to give you another way or method to read, review, and answer the associated questions with building your house.